This is Ishmael Chapter 9, sections 7 and 8. I sat there dazed for a while. Then I recalled seeing the Bible in Ishmael's odd collection of books. In fact, there were 3. I fetched them and after a few minutes of study looked up and said, "None of these has any comment to make on why this tree should have been forbidden to Adam." Were you expecting them to? Well, yes. The takers write the notes, and this story has always been an impenetrable mystery to them. They've never been able to figure out why the knowledge of good and evil should have been forbidden to man. Don't you see why? No. Because to the takers, this knowledge is the very best knowledge of all, the most beneficial for man to have. This being so, why would the gods forbid it to him? True. The knowledge of good and evil is fundamentally the knowledge the rulers of the world must exercise, because every single thing they do is good for some but evil for others. This is what ruling is all about, isn't it? Yes. And man was born to rule the world, wasn't he? Yes, according to Taker mythology. Then why would the gods withhold the very knowledge man needs to fulfill his destiny? From the Taker point of view, it makes no sense at all. True. The disaster occurred when, 10,000 years ago, the people of your culture said, "We're as wise as the gods and can rule the world as well as they." When they took into their own hands the power of life and death over the world, their doom was assured. Yes, because they are not in fact as wise as the gods. The gods ruled the world for billions of years, and it was doing just fine. After just a few thousand years of human rule, the world is at the point of death. True, but the takers will never give it up. Ishmael shrugged. Then they'll die, as predicted. The authors of this story knew what they were talking about. And you're saying this story was written from a lever point of view? That's right. If it had been written from a taker point of view, the knowledge of good and evil wouldn't have been forbidden to Adam. It would have been thrust upon him. The gods would have hung around saying, "Come on, man. Can't you see that you're nothing without this knowledge? Stop living off our bounty like a lion or a wombat. Here, have some of this fruit and you'll instantly realize that you're naked as any lion or wombat. Naked to the world, powerless. Come on, have some of this fruit and you'll become one of us. Then, lucky you can leave this garden and begin living by the sweat of your brow, the way humans are supposed to live. And if people of your cultural persuasion had authored it, this event wouldn't have been called the fall, it would have been called the ascent, or, as you put it earlier, the liberation." Very true, but I'm not quite sure how this fits in with everything else. We are furthering your understanding of how things came to be this way. I don't get it. A minute ago, you told me that the takers will never give up their tyranny over the world, no matter how bad things get. How did they get to be this way? I goggled at him. They got to be this way because they've always believed that what they were doing was right, and therefore to be done at any cost whatsoever. They've always believed that, like the gods, they know what is right to do and what is wrong to do, and what they're doing is right. Do you see how they've demonstrated what I'm saying? Not offhand. They've demonstrated it by forcing everyone in the world to do what they do, to live the way they live. Everyone had to be forced to live like the takers, because the takers had the one right way. Yes, I can see that. Many peoples among the levers practiced agriculture, but they were never obsessed by the delusion that what they were doing was right, that everyone in the entire world had to practice agriculture, that every last square yard of the planet had to be devoted to it. They didn't say to the people around them, "You may no longer live by hunting and gathering. This is wrong. This is evil, and we forbid it. Put your land under cultivation or we'll wipe you out." What they said was, "You want to be hunter-gatherers? That's fine with us. That's great. We want to be agriculturalists. You be hunter-gatherers, and we'll be agriculturalists. We don't pretend to know which way is right. We only know which way we prefer." Yes, I see. And if they got tired of being agriculturalists, if they found they didn't like where it was leading them in their particular adaptation, they were able to give it up. They didn't say to themselves, Well, we've got to keep going at this even if it kills us, because this is the right way to live. For example, there was once a people who constructed a vast network of irrigation canals in order to farm the deserts of what is now southeastern Arizona. They maintained these canals for 3,000 years and built a fairly advanced civilization. But in the end, they were free to say, this is a toilsome and unsatisfying way to live, so to hell with it. They simply walked away from the whole thing and put it out so totally out of their minds that we don't even know what they called themselves. The only name we have for them is the one the Pima Indians gave them, the Hohokam, those who vanished. But it's not going to be easy. But it's not going to be this easy for the takers. It's going to be as hard as hell for them to give it up, because what they're doing is right, and they have to go on doing it, even if it means destroying the world and mankind with it. Yes, that's the way it seems. Giving it up would mean what? Giving it up would mean that all along they'd been wrong. It would mean that they'd never known how to rule the world. It would mean relinquishing their pretensions to godhood. It would mean spitting out the fruit of that tree and giving the rule of the world back to the gods. Yes.